may be able to get there earlier. I'd say choose probably.
They're all the same.
Different
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been so long.
Yes.
And I get to show you my phone. Emily got to see it.
Yeah, we haven't seen it put together, or I haven't seen it put together at all.
It's not really done, but you know, it's pretty much there. I'm excited. That'll be so fun. I missed you guys.
Isn't that game? Start losing. Isn't that game? Yeah. Everybody red team. Everybody no, I don't want to be starting for me. Okay, red. Wait, look at me. Look at me.
Oh my God. Dad.
What? No, she didn't score.
Why did you pick this map? All maps.
We did it. That one team scored.
Why do you change it random? Don't do it random.
I literally have the worst spam moves. I ain't close to that. It's her point. Oh my god. What? No. Let's just say if it goes in
Oh my gosh.
yeah, you'll be disgusting. Exactly.
No Yoshi.
Beautiful rule. Beautiful logic. Either way, it's her point.
Oh no. You ready to go up, boys?
He only took me like 3 rounds. Emma, it only took you like 3 rounds to win. It only took you like 3 rounds to win. 3 rounds of me.
There you go. What's up, Caleb? Not a Caleb, anyway.
It only took her 3 rounds to give her every point that was made for her to win.
Well, what happens if you don't?
But we can lose. You can. Yeah. I've already
Nobody's already got one.
exactly. No, I had you start over. She got to
Yoshi
take her
just
3
died.
points. Why Yoshi?
Oh,
Beautiful. Beautiful how that logic works.
good. Who's all this? No, 3 on. Do it.
Okay. People.
Yeah. It's always gonna be.
Oh, I'm bored. That's what is coming up here. No. No. Emma, oh, okay, I was about to text you back.
Oh, what did it?
I'm winning. Play, you get to stop after winning more. Yeah, well, I'm winning. That's so annoying. Someone lose 5 now. Why would the people play music?
That's not a high.
Caleb, catch the drumstick. Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Wanna try it?
Yeah.
Oh. Ready?
How dare you?
Don't throw it like that. No.
You ain't.
No, Lord.
But that wasn't my fault.
You know. No. It's me and Caleb.
I literally all in my room and I'm like, do you want to seriously not have any bread? Like seriously. Only 10
Don't believe a word he says, Caleb.
When did it start?
Actually, no, the end of that.
Caleb, keep me those two. We're missing a couple.
Why is it still there?
Yeah.
At least you have.
I'm missing a couple. I was missing one more. Wait, aren't you supposed to be in order? Doesn't matter.
See, you don't play by all the rules. I was trying to think also on the rules earlier, but like, no one plays by all the rules.
What you used to play, Jonathan? Hey,
It's because of the graveyard. No, why would you do that? That's not very nice. Well, that's not very nice.
He's just spamming up there. He's like, yeah. That's what I normally do.
So meticulous.
He hasn't even broken up a wall.
Yeah, this is what I thought. I don't do. I like how people warn me.
Really?
Look, you're late. Wait, you're solid, right?
I don't dance. I have people warn me.
Are you gonna play? Only Central.
Emma.
You mean my balls in this?
No, he's not.
What?
It didn't count.
It flew through. Okay. No, that doesn't count. No, that was distraction. Take off that point.
Hold it, dude.
Distraction.
You know you're solid, right?
No, that's early in the you are.
It's solid.
Maybe that one works, but
Let's go like crazy. You know you're solid, right?
okay, that one counts. It almost flew straight
I'll play it different one. Yeah, I'm stripes, you're solid, so you should be. Oh.
I went through the temperature changed like 3 times.
Yeah. During work, it got really hot out here.
I know, I was dying.
I was all like, man, why?
How literally was this Sunday because the fence right there is really
Wait,
glass.
that counts.
Yeah.
Solid, hit your stripe.
Daniel,
You make it.
can you make it cooler in here? It gets really hot on stage.
Literally, he just noticed this was his first like time with me pretty much. Or second time. Every single Sunday, this will kick on like on the second song, and I just am like, it's like a torch, and I'm dying.
We can create a deflector.
That would be so cool. Are you serious?
Yeah, it's not even hard. Like, just to
my
make it
gosh.
blow back out the other way.
It's like, I'm not exaggerating, it's right here, and it's supposed to be for the whole room. And I feel like that side doesn't really come out, it's literally like a funnel.
All you.
And that's why I've been
Is a
starting.
deflector on the other side?
Oh, yeah.
A little one.
So like, I used to sit over here because of that. I knew Weston was feeling it, I was like, it's okay buddy, we're in this together.
It was
So
like,
long.
oh,
No, you can't do that. You're gonna sit on that side. That's a move. That was really move.
like I was all like, I was using the light.
The lights are warm, they are, but people can get close to them,
Yeah.
they're warm. It doesn't help.
Like in the kids sanctuary.
Those lights are
Those
hot.
big giant.
Dude, the main sanctuary is like a sun.
Yeah.
And so you do that first, and then you're like, Sam, no! It's literally the sun. You're turning that last page, so like going straight to the secret place and everything else. Also, it's pretty good right now.
I'm not 5'10" or anything. I'm not. I hate this map. See, it just hurts your health.
Go again. Yeah.
No.
Also, Daniel, I am gonna be kind of back off the mic because he's leaving, so you don't have to turn my mic up because then it starts feeding back. So just for the first song, I'm gonna purposely be quieter because that tends to happen. And that's not you, that's me.
Oh! That's so awesome. Yeah! Wait. I gotta get somebody.
Alright, everybody find a seat!
Yeah, that was pretty. That was really pretty, Daniel.
Oh, thank you. Hey.
Wow.
There you go.
You're like, that's called skill.
Yes, skills.
Come find a seat. Y'all at the cafe. Come on over.
I see someone sitting there because of the water bottle there.
Oh, Jim.
I'll be getting snacks.
Hello.
Phones in the phone bucket. Find yourself a seat. Choose wisely as to not be distracted by your friends.
Choose wisely on which food you should pick
I'm not looking at anybody particularly, I was just looking at everybody. I just want to suggest it. Okay, alright, I'm going to open us in prayer and we'll get started. God, thank you so much for this beautiful morning. Thank you for each person you brought here this service. God, we are so blessed to come here and just fellowship with one another and just sing your praise and get into your word. God, what a blessing. We have the freedom to do that. I ask that you'd bless our worship time right now, that we wouldn't be afraid or ashamed to sing out and sing loud and sing to you, God. I ask that you'd help us not be distracted by anything around us, that we would just pour all of our attention and adoration on you, God. We love you. We give you this time. In Jesus' name, amen. See what signals tell
guys stand with us, please? Where will you run, my soul? Where will you go when wells run dry? And when the wind starts to blow, how you gonna keep this flame alive? In the fading light when night is breaking, I know you will always be waiting. You'll always be there. I'm running to a secret place where you are, where you are. I sing to you of all the ways you stole my heart, stole my heart. Where is the moment that I spent with you when a million other days away? I'm running, I'm running, I'm running to the secret place. You are my only hope. You are the rock on which I stand. You will not let me go. You know that I'm safe inside your hands. In the fading light when night is breaking, I know you will always be waiting. You'll always be there. I'm running to a secret place where you are, where you are. I sing to you of all the ways you stole my heart, stole my heart. Better is the moment that I spend with you than a million other days away. I'm running, I'm running, I'm running to the secret place. Hands are lifted high, hearts awake to life. We are satisfied here with you, here with you. Chains are hit the floor, broken lives restored. We couldn't ask for more. Here with you, here with you. Hands are lifted high, hearts awake to life. We are satisfied here with you, here with you. Chains will hit the floor, broken lives restored. We couldn't ask for more. Here with you, here with you. Running to the secret place where you are, where you are. I sing to you of all the ways you stole my heart, stole my heart. Better is the moment that I spend with you than a million other days away. I'm running, I'm running, I'm running to the secret place. I'm caught up in your presence. just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. And I'm sorry when I just come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. And I'm caught up in your presence. Oh, I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings, Jesus. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. Oh, I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else, Jesus. Nothing else will do. I'm caught up in your presence. Oh, I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. More than anything that you can do. I just want you. God, I pray that those words would be true as we sing them and that we meet them in our hearts, God, that we just want you and only you, Father, that we'd seek you daily and just crave to draw closer to you and spend time with you, God. I ask again, as I always do and as you always grant us, Lord, but please, as always, speak through Daniel as he teaches and help us just to understand more of your word. And maybe if it's a story that we've already heard before in history, God, that we would maybe see a new perspective or a new element that we hadn't known before. And that we would just, we just want to know more about you every day, God. We give you this time once again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Lexi. Thank you, Weston.
Forgot to move me again.
Oh. Alright, guys, if you missed it,
Oh, come on.
Friday was topic.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you haven't RSVP'd, you should.
Bro.
We had a great time. We got to talk about things like after we die, heaven, hell, And then we briefly got to mention other religions.
Like two
We
religions.
mentioned
Die
it.
hell.
Mentioned that. And then parents showed up and it was time to go.
Yeah, you see, the only reason why I went there was for the chicken nuggets. That's the only
That was it, chicken nuggets?
They're
Well,
not
guess what?
dino
Guess
nuggets,
what?
they're chicken.
Next week you can just go there for one other reason.
The dinos are dead.
Pizza and donuts.
Alright, well,
Dang.
I-
The worst
I
combo
need
ever.
that's actually two reasons.
That's two reasons. Pizza and donuts. We're going to be getting, I believe, Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh,
Oh, okay, bet. I'll come.
donut nut time. Donut nut
You
is
know what? You are welcome, Weston, to bring donut note and combine them with our Krispy Kreme. I will not stop you.
How about I bring just one
That
donut?
is also acceptable. Also acceptable. All right, we're going to be talking about dinosaurs, talking about dragons, talking about cavemen, and talking about evolution.
And donuts, how they're made.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover donuts.
Wait a minute.
Likely we'll be playing some donut-related games.
Pastor Daniel, you know it's gonna fail because it's on Friday the 13th.
You know, my daughter was born on Friday the 13th, so just think on that, Jonathan. Think on that.
What? What's such a lie?
She's not a failure. Is she, Jonathan?
I don't know.
The wrong answer, Jonathan.
Mac
the
and
wrong
cheese.
answer.
Oh.
Anyways, that's what's coming up. If you haven't signed up yet, get
I wonder if we're gonna
signed
watch
up.
this.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Go.
You want to talk about mac and cheese?
Go sign up at the place on the site. Go there. Do that. Also, if you go to this link, you can find a recording of Friday.
You got Friday.
If you want to go check out those verses again or see the crazy games played, you can now find that video at that same link. Okay, all that announcing aside, turn in your Bibles to Genesis 29.
Last night, everything except the last night.
Alright,
No, I mean for everyone. I'm almost there.
found it.
Page 25.
No, page 29.
Page 29, guys.
Genesis 29, that's page 29. I told that to
My 3-month-old,
Wednesday.
her
He's like,
default
oh, yeah.
pose when she's awake is just like
What?
goggle-eyed. Totally.
Googly-eyed.
Googly-eyed, yes. Well, no, they don't shake around when you bob her head. They don't like. They don't do that. They're just open.
So they're like,
They're very open.
isn't she like,
Sometimes, yes. That's if you get in her face. She doesn't want to look at me in particular.
or me?
Well, you're almost as scary looking as me, but I don't know. We'll have to test it later. Okay. Open up to Genesis 29. If you don't have a Bible, get a Bible. Okay, good. You were empty-handed. I was concerned. Okay, guys. Genesis 29, as briefly alluded to by Lexi, is a chapter you've probably heard many, many times. But I hope you look at it with some fresh eyes today. So, Weston, would you please start us off reading
Yeah.
verses 1 and 2?
Then Jacob hurried on, finally arriving in the land to the east. He saw a well in the distance. Three flocks of sheep and goats lay in the open field beside it, waiting to be watered. But a heavy stone covered the mouth of the well.
I don't actually know your name yet. What's your name?
Jennifer,
Jennifer. Welcome. Glad you're here. Would you mind reading a few verses for us?
2 verses.
Yeah, 3. Actually, let's see. Where should we start? Yeah, do 3 and 4.
It was custom there to wait for all the flocks to arrive before removing the stone and watering the animals. Afterward, the stone would be placed back over the mouth of the well. Jacob went over to the shepherds and asked, "Where are you from, my friends?" "We're from Haran," they answered.
Good job. Thank you. Jonathan, can you read
5 and 6.
5, 6? Yes.
Alright. Do you know a man by the name Wait. Do you know a man there named Laban, the grandson of Nor? He asked. Yes, we do, they replied. Is he doing well? Jacob asked. Yes, he is well, they answered. Well, here comes his daughter. Look, here comes his daughter, Rachel, from the flock now. Alright.
Very nice. Thank you. So far, before Rachel, there was like 3 flocks there. Now Rachel's there. There's like 4 flocks there. Apparently, they're waiting for a much larger number of flocks because they said the custom is to wait for all of them to gather. We're going to find out in a second that Rachel's not the last one. So there's more flocks coming, and they wait and they wait and they wait for everyone to get there, and then all the shepherds go and they move the rock together. And this is for like two reasons. One is the rock is big and heavy, and the other reason is because then no one can cheat and like take more water than they're supposed to be taking, saving it up, taking extra. Yeah.
What verse are we on?
We've read through 6. We read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, Hunter.
I've never heard this story before.
You've never heard this story before?
No.
Wait till the middle point. Wait till the middle point. I think you've heard the middle point before. So, at this point, I need you guys to understand a few things historically. When you move your sheep around throughout the day, they eat grass. They graze, right? That's pretty standard. You get that?
I eat grass.
So if you
No.
come to the well early, you would be first in line when the stones roll away. Your sheep get to get watered first. But you're also sitting in one spot instead of moving around. And that spot is the same spot someone was sitting yesterday. And the amount of grass that can grow between yesterday and today is
Very little.
very little. So to get your first spot in line for watering, you are sacrificing letting your sheep eat good grass. So there's like a trade-off. You get there too early, and yeah, you're going to be first in line to get water, but you're still going to have to wait a long time to get water. Like, it's not happening when you get there. And then you're also quitting eating whenever you go to get in line. So it's not like you want to be first every time, then your sheep are going to be underfed. And if you're last, then everybody's kind of mad at you, like, why'd you take so long? So, like, you don't want to be last. You kind of want to arrive somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you arrive first and you're only there 15 minutes early, that's cool. No one loses out in that instance. You only lose out if you're first and you got there like 4 hours early. Like, that's the only time you lose out. But apparently that's what they did. Because apparently they were going to actually wait till, like, dark. That's going to be their plan, is to wait until everybody gets there. And that happens around nightfall. So, like, they were going to wait a long, long time. So he sees Rachel roll up, and Rachel is family. I don't know if you guys remember from last week. Last week he was sent away from his parents because he had made his brother so mad his brother wanted to kill him. Literally. Actually plotting to kill him. So his parents sent him off, and they said, not only do we want you to get away and, you know, not get into a fight with your brother, we also want you to go find a wife. And we hate the women around here. They're terrible. So go back to where your mom came from, back to her home country, and go marry someone from her family. Specifically told to marry his cousin. We talked about it last week. It will come up today in your head, so I'm going to just go ahead and throw it out there. Marry your cousin is weird for 2 reasons. 2 reasons. Number 1, you already know them, and they're kind of like a brother or sister to you. That would make it weird to suddenly become romantic with them. Number 2, genetics. Your DNA houses many different little mutations in it, but most of them are recessive. They don't do anything. They just hang out in your DNA doing nothing. And one day you marry someone from some other family, and they'll have mutations in their DNA, and you'll both have different mutations, and your kids will have mutations passed to them, but they'll be recessive. They won't do anything. They'll just be hanging out in your DNA. If you married someone who happened to be closely related to you, and this happens all the time, people do it without even realizing it sometimes. They marry a relative, they don't even realize it's a relative. They never met them, it's a branch of the family they lost touch with, and their DNA is close enough, their mutations line up, and now 2 recessive mutations suddenly become an activated trait. And now your kid has mutations in their DNA that actually make something happen, some sort of deformation, some sort of sickness, some sort of, you know, disease forms from both of you having the same mutated gene. Not great. Not great. So this actually happens all the time with, like, things we think of as a disease that you would never see. Like, they don't show up on the outside of you. They're just like sickness on the inside. They happen in really small ways, like allergies. They happen in all different instances. But when you marry someone who's really close to you in DNA, it's very likely to happen to you.
It didn't sound like mine.
Answer it.
I can't tell whose it was. None of them lit up. Just know, when you put your phone in the bucket, it should be on silent.
Mine's on vibrate.
That's close enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm wondering, is my phone on silent? Yes, it is. Good. All right. So you're supposed to wait for them. Move on.
7.
7, 8. I'll give to the same person. Back to Abby.
7 and 8.
Yes.
Jacob said, "Look, it's still broad daylight. Too early to round up all the animals. Why don't you water the sheep and goats so they can get back out to the pasture?" We can't water the animals until all the flocks have arrived, they replied. Then the shepherds moved the stone from the mouth of the well, and we watered all the sheep and goats.
Okay, and then you get a big chunk. You get 9 through 12.
Jacob was still talking with them when Rachel arrived with her father's flock, for she was the shepherd, and because Rachel was his cousin, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and because the sheep and goats belonged to his uncle Laban, Jacob went over to the well and moved the stone from the mouth and watered the uncle's flock. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and he wept aloud. He explained to Rachel that he was her cousin on her father's side, the son of her aunt Rebecca, so Rachel quickly ran and told her father Laban.
Okay, I want you to really understand what's going on here because this is kind of an important setup moment. But it's almost impossible to understand what's going on here until you've already read the rest. So like, if you're reading this for the first time, and I wasn't here to explain stuff, it'd be very much like you read it and go, well, that was weird. And then you just keep reading, and as you keep reading, slowly things start clicking into place. Things start making sense as you keep reading. But if you forget that paragraph and you just move on, you might not realize some of the coolness here. It's not coolness like, yay, I'm excited this happened. It's coolness like, oh, this makes so much sense now. So he moves a rock that usually took a bunch of guys to move. First off, what does that show you?
Me, I'm strong.
He's weak.
Thick.
Okay.
He had to use a crane.
He's fit. He's fit. But maybe motivation-wise, what does that show you?
Thick.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. He's thick then. Fine, whatever.
He's thick.
Showing off because he likes Rachel.
Thank you, Weston. He's
So
jumping all the way to
He's
the end of the
flirting
gun.
with the
Yeah, he's showing off for Rachel. He likes Rachel.
Flicks and
flirt.
So he gets up there and he moves this rock that's supposed to be like a bunch of guys moving it, and he moves it. And then, catch this, before he speaks to her, he takes all of her sheep and waters them. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have ever like raised an animal
I remember the thing
or
about the camel.
even like multiple animals.
Dog.
3 bunnies.
It would be a strange thing to walk out to like go feed your chickens, to walk out to go, you know,
For your dog.
rub down the horse, you know, with the brush or whatever. I don't take care of horses. Like you go out to take care of your animals and there's someone there. They're doing your work and you don't actually know who they are. Wouldn't that be kind of weird? Like, on the one hand, they're doing work that you're supposed to do, so like you don't have to do that work
Stranger
anymore.
danger.
That's kind of
But
nice.
they're in my backyard.
But then animals are something you grow attached to. Like you're pretty close with your animals after you've had them a while, and it's very personal, like that connection between you and your animal. And if someone like goes and pets your dog and they don't ask, that's a little bit weird. But if they like picked up your dog and started walking away with it, like you would throw a fit. Like you would chase them, you would shout at them, you would grab the dog back. So if someone like goes over to your flock of sheep, which is 4th in line, and starts herding all the sheep in front of the other 3 flocks of sheep, all the way up to the watering hole, and then gets them there and starts watering them, and then like, by the way, they know how to do that, right? So it's a total stranger who just knows how to herd sheep. That's not an innate skill. You guys would suck at herding sheep if you've never tried it before. And you just go try and do it. You would be horrible at it.
Bet I'll do it.
Terrible. So this random stranger goes over and is able to steal her sheep, but then he does good things with them. He waters them. So like, she's on a roller coaster, okay? So first off, it's like, well, who the heck is this new guy? And then like, who the heck is this creep? And because like the thing he does after he waters the sheep, the first thing, he doesn't introduce himself. What's the first thing he does? He kisses her. It's the first thing he does, okay? So it's like, who the heck is this guy? Who the heck is this creep? And then he just starts crying. That's the second thing he does. He just starts crying. What the heck is happening? And then he introduces himself and he says, I'm your long lost cousin from like another country. And then she's just like, what is even happening? All the way down the roller coaster. It's just like the corkscrew on the dive, you know, it's everything is a roller coaster right now. So she's on like a total ride
You're like,
of emotions.
This is fine.
And yeah, there's like a retroactive "this is fine" going on, because if it's family,
It's fine.
it's not that weird because A, kissing was actually a greeting back then. It was not restricted to romantic use. It was not a romantic only thing. The kind of kiss mattered, okay? You're not gonna greet someone with some big sloppy kiss. But that doesn't say he gave her a big sloppy kiss. So he gave her a greeting kiss, a normal kiss, a greeting. Then he cries, and that's super weird until he tells her, I'm your long lost family, I came here to find you, and you're basically like the first person I met. So he's crying because his journey is over. He's been walking through the desert with very little food and a stick. And that is like his one personal possession, okay? And he's on a mission to find one family on this entire planet. And then he gets somewhere, anywhere, he meets humans, and they're like, yeah, we know who you're looking for. He's like, yes! Oh, and there they are. Yes! After you just walk through the desert and the person you're looking for walks up, that is really cool. Now, flip side to this, I don't know if you were here a few weeks ago, this is literally the story that we already read once of how his mom was found. Once upon a time, his grandpa, this guy's grandpa, sends off a servant to find a wife for this guy's dad. And sends him specifically to one family across the desert in another country. And the servant walks up to the outside of town and sees all the women coming down to gather water from the well. And he prays to God and says, I would like to find the right wife. I would like to find the woman that is meant for my master's son. So I'm going to go ask the first woman I walk up to if she'll get me a drink of water from the well, because I don't have like a pitcher to draw it out with. And if she says yes, and she says she'll water my camels too, then I'll know it's the right one. Because watering camels, we already talked about it a few weeks ago, it was insane. It took forever. They can drink so much water, it's ridiculous. And he had a bunch of camels. It wasn't even one camel, it was like 10 camels. So he walks up to one woman, first woman, says, will you give me a drink of water? She says yes. Goes and gets him a drink of water, and he's like, just kind of hanging there in regret, like she didn't say, I'll water your camels. She waits till he finishes his drink, and then she says, hey, let me water your camels too.
What a coincidence.
And he's
What a coincidence.
yes! So she waters the camels, gets the whole thing done. Takes forever. Go and get water, go get water, go get water, go and get water. It's like 10 camels, gotta fill all of them up. It's ridiculous. And then they do the whole introduction thing, and he finds out she's from the family he was going to find. So this exact thing already happened once before to his grandpa's servant, and now it's happening to him. He gets there, the first girl he meets is the girl he was told you should go marry. You should go marry your cousin. It's literally what his dad told him last week. And so this is who he meets. Pretty darn cool. Okay, so then we get into verses 13 and 14. Jediah.
As soon as Laban heard that his nephew Jacob had arrived, he ran out to meet him. He embraced and kissed him and brought him home. When Jacob had told him his story, Laban exclaimed, you really are my own flesh and blood.
Those last few lines there are like my favorite ones in the whole chapter.
Creepy.
If you know what Jacob's already been through, how he like made a deal with his brother, how he tricked his brother, how he managed to get things by being like conniving and clever, and you know the rest of the story, the part coming up, how Laban is and what Laban likes to do, and how Laban is conniving and tricky, and he likes to make things happen his way, and he likes to make deals that really benefit him and twist things, and you know that both of them are these trickster, pull one over on you sort of guys.
Backstabbers.
No, not backstabbers. They'll make a deal with you and they'll stick to the deal, okay? But the deal they made with you was a trick.
Helps them.
Does that make sense?
No.
They were completely open and honest with you. They just don't think that you know everything they know.
Ooh.
So like, I'll give you
Here's everything that's gonna happen. You're gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and that's all that's gonna happen, and that's everything, and that's everything. I promise. That's the kind of guys they are. There's always that glint in their eye, like
See,
I know
there should
more than
always
you.
be like a button right next to me that says
So-
X to doubt.
When it says Jacob had told him his story, I wonder, how much did he tell him? What version did he tell him? Did he tell him openly? I tricked my brother, I got the birthright, I got the blessing, I got it all. Or did he say, yeah, my family was so hard, man, my brother always hated me, my dad always had my other brother as his favorite. You know, only my mom liked me. She helped me out though, so like I did okay. You know, and then you know he wanted to kill me, so I had to run here, and it's just not fair. Life is so hard.
Life is unfair.
Which way did he tell the story?
So true.
Oh,
Because like both versions of the story have a lot of elements of the truth in them. But I'm curious. I think maybe he told the story and there was a little bit of gloating. Because now Brother's not there anymore. Brother's not there to be a threat. Brother's not there to kill him. So now maybe he's telling the story in sort of like a boasting, prideful way. It makes me think that because Laban says, you really are my own flesh and blood. And since Laban is such a trickster kind of guy, he would really only say that if
He knows.
he sees what kind of guy Jacob is. So I think he sees the cleverness, the shrewdness in Jacob, that special wisdom we call street smarts.
Street smart.
And I think he sees that and he goes, yeah, you're my flesh and blood. I can tell, man. We are related. We're cut from the same cloth, you and I. Well, now, hearing that, knowing that, you know, they're each going to be trying to get something out of the other. Laban is going to try and get the better of Jacob, and Jacob's going to try and get the better of Laban. That's just going to be the relationship from here on out. But it's like sporting. Does that make sense? It's because they
Football.
both know the other's doing it.
Basketball.
Does that make sense? So it's like it's almost friendly, almost.
Baseball.
family
Almost
sports.
friendly? Yeah.
Family.
Yeah, when
Family.
family tries to take advantage of each other, but they know they're
Family
doing it.
Family Feud.
What would that be?
Family Feud.
This.
Oh, need
This
to
is what
call
that
Dr.
is.
Phil.
Okay. We ended in the middle of 14. Jediah totally did it right. Thank you, Jediah. I didn't say anything, but he ended where he should have. And now, Rowan, you get to pick up the middle of 14 where it says after Jacob, and you're going to go through 15.
Okay. After Jacob stayed with
Laban.
Laban for about a month, Laban said to him, "You shouldn't work for me without paying me, just because we have relatives. Tell me how much your wages should be."
Do you think you could work for someone for 30 days and not actually have talked about your pay yet?
First off, it's almost.
I don't think everyone can do that. Like, I can do that because I hate talking about money. I hate asking for remuneration, like asking for them to, you know, equal out and tell them here's what I should be paid. And I hate, like, if someone says, will you help me with this? I don't immediately go, yeah, that job looks like it'll take this long, cost $70. I go, yes, I can help you with that. And I want to help them with that. Other people are different. Other people, you say, hey, I really need help with this thing. And they're like, I could probably do it for like $20. I'll just take care of it. And people are fine with that. Some people are like, yes, here's my price. You like it, you like it. You don't, I don't care.
It's like,
Whatever. I'm not that way. But I think Jacob is actually being this way intentionally. I don't think he's naturally a I won't name my price kind of guy. I think he's doing this intentionally because he likes Rachel. And he wants to get credit with Laban. He wants to build up Laban's opinion of him. So he's working really hard and he's not talking about payback. He's not talking about wages. He's not talking about anything that would like make Laban not like him. He's being very cautious. I think that's what Jacob's doing. That's just my read on Jacob, and I think you'll see where I get this from in a second here. Nate, would you like to read today? Are you sure? I think you can. I think you've been practicing. I think you should practice.
Do it.
No, do it, man.
I'll do it right today.
All right, Caleb, you got him. 16 through 18.
Now Laban had two daughters. The older daughter named Leah.
Mhm.
The younger daughter, the younger one was Rachel. There was no sparkle in Leah's eye. Or Leah
That is
or
literally
Leah?
what it says.
Leah or Leah.
Oh, you can go either one. I don't know.
So,
I go with Leah.
But Rachel had a beautiful figure and a lovely face. Since Jacob was in love with Rachel, he told her father, I will work for you for 7 years if he'll give me Rachel, your younger daughter, as my wife.
No, there's several things in there that should be like big red flags to you. For one, it sounds like they're buying women.
I mean, technically speaking,
That should be a
they didn't
pretty
have
big red
any- yeah,
flag.
They didn't have any rights, so.
So yeah, don't do that. By the way, don't try and buy people. That's a bad idea.
Slavery.
Now, I'm sure that did go on at this day and age. Slavery, I know, was a very old practice, but this is not that. This is not buying a wife. This is actually discussing a dowry. Does anyone know the word dowry?
No. Too
No
long.
one knows the word dowry. Okay, cool.
Too
Dowry.
Too
Old practice. Okay, this is how it worked. You would go to the parents of the girl you want to marry, and you would say, I would like to marry her. Now, at this point in the conversation, generally speaking, the guy and the girl already know each other. They've already talked separately. They already know they want to marry each other. So I'm hoping, and I really just have to hope because I don't know, I'm hoping that Rachel feels the same way, and that Jacob and Rachel have already spoken.
And then Jacob gets rejected.
But you will notice there is nowhere in this chapter where it says they did. It does not mention that. At no point does anyone talk to Rachel and say, would you like to marry this guy? On the page. I'm hoping to goodness that they did that at some point, but I don't know. This is the day and age where arranged marriage was pretty popular, so it's very possible the dad's just like, yeah, Jacob's a great guy. She'll want to marry him. To heck if I know. Anyways,
Dad of
the
the year.
dowry works like this. You go to the parents, you say, I would like to marry her, and then they would ask for a dowry. And the dowry was set based on the richness of the family she's coming from. And the price essentially was paying for the rest of her life.
Huh?
Paying for the rest of her life. What would it cost to house her, feed her, clothe her for the rest of her life?
$1 million.
How much would it be?
Well, it depends on how long she lives.
She dies next
Depends
day.
how old she is.
I'm sure there were parts of like the plague where dowries went way down. Life expectancy was very low. Yeah. 7 years of work in this case.
He just fit that in.
So that's the price he suggests. 7 years of work. He says, I'll work for you for free for 7 years. Now typically, the dowry was held onto by the dad. The dad takes the dowry and he holds it, and it's saved for her and invested. Ideally, he would invest it. If it was cash, he'd stick it in the bank. If it was a flock, he would set it to work. He would have people running that flock, growing that flock. But it would always be apart from, separate from, like the rest of the family's resources. It would be hers. But she would never get to use it as long as she was married. It was kept in case the husband died, or in case he decided to divorce her. And then, his promise was still kept, even if he wasn't there anymore. Because the original promise was, I will take care of her for the rest of her life. And by placing the dowry, he not only proved he couldn't just be some poor person who doesn't want to work, he's lazy, he doesn't like to do anything, because obviously you're never going to get the money together for a dowry. But by putting forth that money, not only do you prove you can earn good wages, but then you've actually put down the funds up front. Look, there, she's taken care of. Whatever happens to me, I go sailing on a ship and it sinks in the sea, like whatever, she's taken care of. I've put down the dowry. So, sinks in the sea.
You said sinks in the sea. You
I thought I said sinks. I'm sorry.
said sinks.
I thought he said I said
Sand.
snakes. Snakes in the sea, and he,
Sex in the sea.
like Kirby serpents.
Sex in the sea.
Titanic's in the sea.
That made me laugh really hard in my own head, just a little kind of way. So he offers up the dowry, 7 years of labor. 7 years of free labor. Now he's already worked with Laban for a month, and so Laban knows how hard of a worker he is. And so that's how Laban is able to decide whether or not there's a good offer. So, if Laban accepts, Laban should, theoretically, take all of the wages he would be paying to Jacob, all of the money he should be paying anyone working as hard as Jacob, and put it aside in like a separate account, separate money bag, separate flock, whatever it is that the increase is from Jacob working that Jacob should get paid, should have been set aside for Rachel as a dowry. That's how this should be working right now. Since Jacob is coming across the desert with nothing but a stick, he cannot just hand him money for the bride. He can't hand him a flock. He doesn't have a flock. So he's giving him time and labor. All right, Caleb, let's see Laban's answer in 19 and 20. You're sitting next to Caleb, so it's Caleb.
Oh.
If you guys don't sit next to each other, it's not that confusing, okay? Caleb L., would you please read 19 and 20?
They're both kettlebells.
Oh, dang it! Oh.
Caleb 1, Caleb 2.
I honestly wasn't trying to do that. Yes, the one who has not read yet, Caleb.
Agreed. Laban's
Well-
fine. I'd rather give her to you than to anyone else. Stay and work with me.
And 20.
Oh, okay.
So Jacob worked 7 years to pay for Rachel, but his love for her was so strong that it seemed to him but a few days.
Oh,
Dang.
that's sweet.
Oh.
It seemed to him but a few days. I don't actually know how that would be possible. I loved Emily a lot before we were married, and I don't think it would make waiting very long seem like a few days.
I think,
I think the amount of love that I had for her
I
would
think it'll
make waiting a
make it
long time
feel
seem like a
longer.
lot longer time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that was just my experience. I definitely felt that way. We started dating in August of 2010, and we were talking about marriage on like the first date. No, like seriously, we had a reservation, Fifth Street Steakhouse. We're sitting in the car across the street from Fifth Street Steakhouse, and I can remember talking about marriage.
What a great first topic.
Like we hadn't actually got in the restaurant yet. Does that make sense? Like that's how early it was in the date.
Yeah.
We hadn't gotten to sit down and eat the dinner yet. We were already talking about marriage. So like we were pretty like directionally set from the beginning. But it was a long road of
the doubt.
like building the trust. So like we knew what we wanted, but that didn't mean we fully knew each other. We fully trusted each other. So there was a lot of that going on during the dating relationship. And then we were married in February of 2012. So it was a year and a half.
2012.
Yeah, year and a half, because it's August and February is only like 6 months. So a year and a half later we were married. But we were engaged kind of late because I didn't have the ring for a while. Which like I can't complain.
Did your dog eat it?
My dad made me the ring, and it's an amazing, beautiful ring. But like my dad is the most amazing jeweler in the world, but he's constantly slammed with work. He can never find a spare moment to do anything, let alone make a ring for his son, because like I don't pay what other people pay. he didn't charge me. So he had to find time to work on a free ring, and that was amazing.
Why would you do
So we finally got the ring, and then I couldn't wait to ask her. I had like set up this whole concocted scenario to ask her to marry me, and had given the ring to my sister, who's a photographer, and then like set up a whole like engagement photo shoot. And Emily thought we had like a placeholder ring, which we did too. We had a generic ring my dad gave us. It had like a fake diamond in it. It was just totally, blank looking, just like one stone in the middle, just so she could have a ring on her finger in the engagement photos. And I was trying to explain to Marie that there's going to be like a moment when Emily asks for the ring, and I want you to give her the real ring instead of the fake ring. And when she turns around, I'll already be down on one knee. And I'm like explaining this all to her, but like Emily's around because we're on the trip together, we're in the car together. So like I'm texting her little notes and like trying to whisper things to Marie, my sister, so she can like get the ring tossed right. So it's like she switches it at the right moment, and then the moment comes, and I think it's like this is the moment, this is it, we're doing it, this is it. And Marie left the real ring in the car because she didn't understand this was the moment, so she only had the fake ring. And the car was like, we were in Sacramento. The car was like a half mile away. Like there was no way to get the ring. And my older sister, who was there as well, she reads eyes very well. She saw the look on my face and she was like, oh, I know what happened. And so she asks Marie where the real ring is and like tries to shove Marie in the gut, like, give me the real ring. And Marie tells her like the real ring's in the car. It's like a half mile away. I can't get the way. So my older sister just takes off running, just starts jogging to the car to get the real ring.
Looks over.
And like the whole moment's over, the sun is down, we're done taking photos by the time she gets back. Because like, my car's a half mile away. So like the whole moment's over, everything's done, we're driving back home, we've done our whole photo shoot day, traipsing around Sacramento, finding cool spots to take pictures. And we get back to my house. I actually lived with Michelle at the time, we shared a house. And Emily has her own car, but she lives in Paradise, we live in Chico. And like, it's kind of a sad, let down sort of moment, because like you spent the whole day thinking about being engaged, and like there wasn't ever actually the moment where you got engaged.
Ooh.
And it was very crushing feeling to me, and it was really hard to say goodbye. And I think both of us said like, I don't want to say goodbye. This is too hard. This is too like emotionally taxing to end this moment like this. And so she left, and I got the ring, and I got to her house first. Because like I know some secret ways through Paradise. And I get there and her dad's asleep, her mom is like in her pajamas, and she's wondering why I'm there and Emily's not. And I know Emily's gonna pull up like in 15 seconds. I had to like park down the street so I could get in the house like before her. And I'm trying to explain to her mom in whispers, I need to ask ask her to marry me. And her mom was like, right now is the moment. You have the ring. And she's like, let me see the ring. No, get out. And so that was the moment when I got to ask her. But I couldn't wait. I had the ring. The moment I wanted passed. And what did I do? I took the exact next moment possible. I couldn't wait. I couldn't. And I think that, to me, is how I would have felt in this situation. And somehow he does it. He waits 7 years.
Oh my god.
Now, we just had our anniversary, February 25th. And that was our 7-year wedding anniversary. We've been married 7 years. And so I kind of have a sense of what 7 years feels like. You know what I mean? I've been an adult that whole time. I can measure where I lived, what I was doing for work at that time, and that is a long time. And he works at the same place Rachel works. Isn't that crazy to think about that? He lives at her house. He works where she works. They're both shepherds. So for 7 years, you work alongside, live under the same roof with, you're betrothed, but you don't get to marry them. What would that be like? That would be, I think that'd be horrible, but apparently the hope of the day when he gets to marry her is carrying him on. So I say all that to charge you up for this moment. This golden moment. He is so excited. And then Hunter, you get to read it. Verse 21.
Gets rejected.
Daniel,
Yeah.
Gets rejected.
I have an idea on how it felt. When we were
Are you gonna steal our charge up right now? We're gonna have this charge up.
I
and
actually
you
have
read
a
it.
answer.
And then read it. Okay.
Maybe he was only awake for 2 days and just sleepwalking the rest.
Okay, cool. Great. Hunter, go ahead and read 21.
Okay.
Finally, the time came for him to marry her. I have fulfilled my agreement, Jacob said to Laban. Now give me my wife so I can sleep with her.
Wow.
Isn't that just the most romantic thing you've ever heard?
That's love.
This is romantic.
He is a true romantic. You can just tell. His words just leap off the page in flowery petals.
Oh, that's bad.
Okay. Lulu, you've got 22 through 24.
So Laban invited everyone in the neighborhood and prepared a wedding feast. But that night when it was dark, Laban took Leah to give to Jacob and he slept with her. Laban had given Leah a servant,
Zilpah.
to be her maid.
Okay, now I don't know why that footnote is exactly on that part of the page. That could come up at any point in time and be just as useful. Why they inserted it there, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so she had a servant. Great. What about that other stuff? Did you notice who got married there?
Yes.
Was it Rachel?
No.
Nope.
Who did he pine for 7 years?
Rachel.
Rachel. And who did he marry?
Leah. Princess Leia died.
What would you do?
Wait,
What would you do if
Kill
someone
Laban.
pulled a switcheroo on your wedding day? It was dark and they wore a wedding veil. That's one of the only wedding customs we know about from back then, is they were heavily covered right as they go to get married. And it was also pitch black. And they don't have electric lights.
Huh.
That was just
Don't.
no electric lights. Why would they have electric lights? They didn't have that.
That's so
They don't
fun,
have electric
Daddy.
lights?
So
That fire.
the other side to this, and this is so hard to imagine because they don't explain it. What is in Leah's head?
Why am I dating this man?
Why am I marrying this guy? How is she feeling about this moment? What is her thought process in this moment?
I don't want to marry
Right?
him.
Because when she does this, she's going along with what her dad says. But what we don't know is why. We don't get to know why. We don't know if she, for 7 years, has a crush on Jacob and can't say anything because Rachel and Jacob are already an item. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. It doesn't say.
Wait, so he booked the
Maybe
prom?
she's just jealous of Rachel, that someone has been pining for her and working for her for 7 years and no one is doing the same for Leah. So
I
maybe
bet
it's
she's
jealousy. Maybe it's I'm daddy's girl, I'll do whatever daddy says. I don't know. There is no explanation here. So make up your own answer. It's probably just as right. We don't know. And it doesn't explain. We only really get into the head of Leah and find out what she's thinking and feeling after all this happens. The why she went through with it, Not explained.
Why?
So we don't really know. Okay. Trinity 25.
But when Jacob woke in the morning, it was Leah. What have you done to me? Jacob raged at Laban. I worked 7 years for Rachel. Why have you tricked me?
this answer. Why have you done this? Here's the answer, guys. 26 and 27.
Like,
And Laban said, "It must not be done so in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give you this one also for the service which you will serve with me still another 7 years."
Okay. If you're following along, what he's saying is, in our country, there's a custom. The older must get married before the younger gets married. And since Leah was older than Rachel, I had to give you Leah.
And so if you did Leah, you just divorce her. And then Rachel.
Very simple, guys. You go to pay the dowry, right? You say, I would like to work 7 years to marry Rachel. And the dad should then say, sorry, I can't let you marry Rachel. First, Leah has to get married. That's it. That's simple. That's clean. It's clear cut. He'll just work for you for 7 years for money. You just pay him money, and he'll have money. And then he can pay you later when Leah gets married to someone else. Very simple. No one gets hurt. Instead, Dad says, yeah, you can marry Rachel. Sure. And then at the last minute says, no, you can't marry Rachel. I changed my mind. But then he says this, and this totally irks me, because we get now why polygamy is such a bad idea, but this is at a point in history where polygamy was still pretty normal. There was no laws against it. So marrying more than one wife was pretty normal. I'm not saying good because it's not good. But he says, fulfill the week. That means finish out this feast, this celebration, finish out the honeymoon, and when that's over, you can marry Rachel.
That's nasty. Why?
Nasty.
Because he's in love with Rachel. He had no intention of marrying Leah. He never wanted to marry Leah. And then he says, and this is what I think Laban's real motivation is, but after you marry Rachel, I will require another dowry. Now, he's been working for 7 years, right? He paid that dowry, but he got no money. He got no resources. He got no pay. So he has nothing to pay dowry number 2. And so Laban says, that's okay. You can just work another 7 years. It's cool. I got you.
I got you,
Fam. Because, you know, he married his daughter to another family.
You clubbed.
Dad-in-law, what are you doing to me? So this is the real kicker, though. Like we said, we don't really know what Leah was thinking going into this, but I really don't know. Not since I don't know what she started out thinking, I really don't know what she's thinking now, right? Because since I don't know what she was thinking before, I can't really guess what this reaction does to her. Was she expecting this reaction or not? Was she expecting Jacob to freak out? Was she expecting Jacob to say, I still want Rachel? Or was she expecting Jacob to just be like, well, I guess I got Leah. Cool. I'll stick with Leah. What was she expecting? I don't know. I don't know. If I watched Jacob and Rachel as closely as I expect Leah did, I think she would know by now Jacob ain't giving up on Rachel. I think she should know that. I don't know if she got it. Like I said, I don't know if this was done out of jealousy, if it was done out of her own secret crush on Jacob, if it was done out of just respect for, she just respects her dad and that's all. I have no idea. So what she gets after this little turn, I don't know. I don't know if she feels guilty or sad. Because like on the one hand, this is utter rejection. And on the other hand, she was the one doing the trickery. Like it was thought up by Laban, but she's the one going through with it. She is the one who tricked Jacob. So does she feel sad or guilty? Rejected or at fault? I don't know. Hannah, would you read 28 through 30?
So Jacob agreed to work 7 more years. A week after Jacob had married Leah, Laban gave him Rachel too. Laban gave Rachel a servant, Bilhah, to be her maid. So Jacob slept with Rachel too, and he loved her much more than Leah. He then stayed and worked for Laban an additional 7 years.
Okay. So now he has both girls as his wives.
But he has a favorite.
He has what?
A favorite.
But he has a favorite. A
This is
strong
divorce,
favorite.
Leah.
This wasn't like he went to Laban and said, I'd like to marry both your daughters, and worked 14 years. This is not that at all. This was, I choose Rachel.
1, 7.
That's pretty sad. And you're going to see this comes out in what Leah now goes through. Like, the consequences of this deception run deep in this family and last generations. But follow backwards for a second. Remember who tricked family first?
Jacob.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about tricking family, deceiving family, stealing from family.
Oh.
It come back to bite you.
Karma.
There,
Family karma.
not karma, consequence.
Family karma.
Consequence.
Family consequence.
Okay, there's a difference between karma and consequence, okay? Karma is an intangible account that you are putting money into and taking money out of. And it is run by the universe, semi-consciously. And it doesn't exist. It's fake. Consequence is cause and effect. You do stuff, stuff happens. So when you burn your family, that will come back to bite you. Not always through revenge. Family doesn't always take revenge. Oftentimes family forgives you. But oftentimes when you burn family, you lose relationship. And now without that relationship, things that are going to come down the road anyways are going to be a lot harder. Because you don't have those relationships anymore. You burn them. That's not karma. That's consequence. Okay? So, his consequence, burning family, he now looks like someone who should get burned the same way. And so his uncle dies. But the sad thing is, when you get older, you will find, the older you get, the more your Hunter? Shh. What did I say?
I don't know.
That's a good point.
It's a SHH.
SHH.
Jaya, no giving him the answer. Also wrong. Don't listen to Jaya. I said, the older you get, the more you will find that your consequences grow with you.
They do?
And then when they fall on you, they do not fall on you alone.
For everybody else.
They fall on everyone around you, along with you. You don't get to escape them. It's not donut-shaped consequences. It falls on everyone. So, you must be more and more careful that you do not make decisions that have terrible consequences, because it won't just hit you, it'll hit your family. It won't just hit you, it'll hit your friends. It won't just hit you, it'll hit your whole community. The older you get, the bigger the consequences get. And so, now he's got a family. Guess what? The consequences fall on his family. All right, let's check it out. Oh, yes, question. How do you spell your version of Maddie?
M-A-D-D-I-E.
M-A-D-D-I-E. Cool, because I was going to try and fix the name tag thing by next week. I wanted to make sure I typed that in right. Thank you. You've got 31 through 32.
When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he enabled her to have children, but Rachel could not conceive. So Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, "The Lord has noticed my misery, and now my husband will love me."
Reuben literally means look, a son.
Look. For a
That's
second,
what Reuben
for a
is.
second, I thought that she
I'm
was
not
saying
making this up.
Reuben, and that's the reason why.
Look, a son.
Sandwich.
Sandwich.
It's a sandwich.
That we should change the name. It should be named Look a Sandwich. Can I get a Look a Sandwich? Thanks. Thank you for reading.
Why?
I don't know if you guys understand, like, the depth to which women were not held in equality back then. There was actually a custom at this point in time. So a woman gets pregnant and the family is like getting ready for a party. And when she goes into labor, that's when the party starts. And if they come out and say like, it's a boy, the party continues. Like all through the night, all through the next day. And if they come out and say it's a girl, they put everything away.
It's a girl. It's a girl.
I'm not kidding. That's how little they thought of women at this point in history. They really thought of them quite lowly. So when she says, look, a son, she's not saying like, look, a child. Get that. She's saying, look, the one people value. I got one of those.
I got one of those.
And that matches with what she says. She says, now my husband will love me.
I got one in Rachel.
Does that make sense? She honestly believes, because she had the better of the two genders in their culture's mind, their husband will now love her.
Huh?
Do you see where she's at mentally?
Yes.
She's grasping at straws. She's desperate.
Jealous.
Not even jealous yet. We'll get there. Right now, she's desperate. She is unloved, and she knows that in her current situation, she will remain so. So right now, her hope is having kids. That is her hope, that if she has enough sons for this man, that this man will finally love her.
No sons. Why was it like
I
one
hope
girl?
you understand how sickening that is. Like, this is dastardly, the situation she's been put into. And again, we don't really know how culpable she is in creating the situation, how much she played along versus was made to play along. We have really no idea. And then we get into verse 33. Oh, did you want to add something, Hannah?
Oh, I was just gonna say, do you think the fact that it says God saw that she was unloved and then enabled her to have children was like God having compassion on her, like not blaming her, like this is your fault?
Definitely.
But
I don't think in this situation, the way the story is cast, that she's blamed whether she went along willingly or unwillingly. I don't think she would, even if she did it willingly, because I think the tone of this whole story is using some really heavy typography, or typology. So Jacob is meant to be learning a lesson here. Jacob was the trickster, and now he is tricked. So it skews the telling a little bit, and that's why they leave out details like, was Leah willing or unwilling? Like, they just don't bother with that because it's not important to the type they're trying to set up. They're really trying to show Jacob was supposed to learn a lesson here, and at this point in time, he hasn't yet. He will eventually, but like, he still hasn't learned it. So it repeats. There's a cycle where he keeps on getting, like, blessed regardless, tricked anyways. Like, anyways. So, but yeah, I think God definitely sees her as not at fault. I would agree with that entirely. But I still don't know about her willingness. I still think she wouldn't be at fault even if she was willing, just because this is so on her dad and so on Jacob. This shouldn't be on anyone else. Yeah, I don't want to go too into the weeds on that, but it starts to gross me out. But anyways, could you read 33?
Just 33.
Just 33?
She soon became pregnant again and gave birth to another son. She named him
Simeon.
For she said, the Lord has heard that I was unloved and has given me another son.
Simeon's original meaning is kind of lost, but taking apart the roots of the word in Hebrew, it sounds like one who hears. So she named him not deaf. That is his name.
I'm not deaf.
But she did that because God wasn't deaf. So that kind of makes sense. God heard her. And then 34. I don't know your name there. Emma. Fantastic. Have you met Emma? My 3-month-old daughter is named Emma as well. That's really cool. Awesome. Well, that'll help me remember. Okay. Yeah. Could you read just 34? Shh, guys. She's gonna read.
Then she came pregnant with a third time and gave birth to another son. He was named Levi. For she said, surely this time my husband will feel affection for me, since I have given him 3 sons.
Levi, just FYI. And that apparently sounds like the Hebrew for being attached or feeling affection. This is the depth of which she is crying out for help. She is so unloved, she named her son, I am loved. Do you understand like how broken that is? That a person would do something as permanent as name someone about how they really aren't loved? this is really bad. This is why polygamy is such a terrible idea, is because when you get married, you are meant to give 100% of yourself to the other person. You are meant to just be all for them, and they likewise, all for you. How do you do that when there's more than two people?
Divide yourself.
That's not how fractions work. You can't give all of yourself to two people.
Cut yourself.
That also doesn't work for other reasons.
Duplication.
You would just be dead.
Duplication.
It does not help. No,
Duplication.
cloning doesn't work. That just means there's literally two relationships going on. You're not the same person when you clone. Yeah,
Half
Weston.
and half.
Can I read one?
Iced tea.
If you want. Yeah.
Half and
that's
half
fine.
Arizona.
All right, guys. Weston, you've got 35.
Once again, Leah became pregnant and gave birth to another son. She named him Judah. First she said, "Now I will praise the Lord," and then she stopped having children.
Okay. Judah means praise. Good, praise. Okay, so you guys don't have to all slam your Bibles. Don't go up and put them away. We're not quite done. Do you think? Do you think there's a point at which a husband should take notice and do something, if not out of like affection and love, then at least out of like caution? Does that make sense? Like there should be a line where you realize your wife doesn't feel loved, and it shouldn't take, what was that, 4 kids?
Yeah, 4
kids.
4 kids in a row being named cries for help. Like, maybe Judah wasn't so much a cry for help unless you really understood the circumstance. But the first 3 pretty much were. It should not take that much. But that is where they are. And it's basically because Jacob is focused on Rachel. That's it. So this is interesting because this is at a point in history, this is so many thousands of years ago. There's no laws against having 2 wives. There's no cultural stigma against having 2 wives. So at this point, the Bible is going back at this point in time to show you, before there was any laws, before there was any code, before there was any cultural faux pas, don't do that, that's weird.
Civil rights.
Before there was that, the Bible's showing there's still consequences, guys. There's no point in time before consequences. There was always consequences. And so, really, I want you guys to learn this lesson and learn it good. You do not need to know something is against the rules to know you should not do it. You do not need to know something is against the rules to know that you should not do it. Plain and simple, you should just know from what might be able to happen if you do it. What could go wrong? That's a great phrase. You ever asked that question?
What can go wrong?
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
No, most kids don't ask that question. It's perfectly normal not to ask that question. That's what parents ask. And usually parents' brains fire through 1,500 what could go wrongs before you ever even think the words. Parents' brains are constantly going, how does their femur come out of their flesh sideways? Oh, yeah. Don't jump on that! And that just like fires off. We just know. If you jump on that, the board's gonna split and the leg bone's gonna go woo! Sideways. It's like, don't jump on that. No! And you're like, why? Because you didn't think about it. And that's it. That's always the answer. Because you didn't think about it. That's always the answer.
Why did I think about it?
So very simply, Jacob goes to get married in the dark and marries a girl with a face covering.
That's yummy.
I would say, hey, maybe before you marry her, peek, or I don't know, maybe it's culturally not acceptable to peek. Maybe that's the whole point of the veil. Talk to her.
Yeah.
Oh!
Wow. So smart.
I don't know about you guys, but like, I know girls who have sisters, and I can tell them apart. And it takes only a few seconds of talking to them. That's all it takes. So yeah, I would say that there was some stuff that Jacob could have thought harder about. I think so.
Look how tall she is.
Maybe that would help too. I don't know.
Wait,
maybe they're the same height. I don't know.
Look how hairy she was.
But I want you guys to learn. I want you guys to learn to ask yourselves that question. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? And that amount of caution is the right amount of caution. You don't have to be afraid of things. You don't have to walk around going, oh no, what could go wrong? But whenever you want to do something, whenever you are excited to do something, that's when you ask, but what could go wrong?
Bungee jumping.
If I spend all my money on...
Bungee jumping. That bungee snake.
Guys, we got like 1 minute left. Shush. What could go wrong if I spend all my money on candy?
You'll be
You'll go diabetes.
You could get sick, you could get diabetes, you could go broke.
Cancer.
What could go wrong if I go with a bunch of friends to a place I've never been and I don't actually know what our plans are?
And you don't know
You get
who the
drunk.
friends are.
No, you know the friends, but you don't know where you're going, you don't know what the plan is. What could go wrong?
Your friends get mugged.
Lots of things.
That's a long list, isn't it? If you don't know where you're going, and you don't know what the plan is when you get there, that is an infinite number of things that can go wrong. Because you have two variables. Now you're talking about squaring the number of possible bad things. That's a terrible idea. You should know where you're going. You should know what the plan is when you get there. Definitely know who you're going with. There are so many instances where you guys could avoid terrible consequences if you just ask that question. But what could go wrong? And it's very simple. If there is an answer to the question, like this bad thing could happen, and you can answer that and say, but I will do this, and this will fix this, and that's fine. Go ahead. Continue with your plan. You've thought it through. But if ever there comes up a consequence where you go, yeah, I couldn't handle that, then you should just not do it. If there's a chance of femur bones jutting out your leg at a 90-degree angle, don't do it. Just don't. Skip that one. So you know what? I'll let someone else do it, and I'll get to look on in awe and take pictures of their femur bone. But it won't be my femur. It will be someone else's. Ask that question, but what could go wrong? Jacob needed to ask that question. He did not. And this is the thing I really want to get into your heads. Practice now when your consequences will be smaller, because as you age, the consequences grow. If you start to make decisions as an adult, and you don't think about what could go wrong,
I mean,
oh my goodness, people could die. Families could get crushed.
What were they could start?
The consequences will be very large. And look at Jacob's example. Do you guys think it's a small thing that he has one wife who is loved and one wife who is not? Does that seem like a minor issue?
No.
Yes.
No.
What about the kids? Do you think it's going to be normal for those kids growing up in a family, not with just with two moms? I'm sure there's plenty of families around that had two moms. In a family where there's two moms and one is loved and one is not, what would it feel like to be the child of the mom who's not loved?
Depressed.
Yeah, I think that would crush you your whole life. At this point, there's no kids from the mom who is loved, but eventually, spoiler alert, there might be. What happens when there's a kid of the mom who is loved and all the other kids of the mom who wasn't loved? Yeah?
Well, the Bible said that she only had kids because she wanted Jacob to love her. They never said that she actually wanted them and wanted to have them. She just wanted Jacob to love her.
Yeah, what happens when you're the child who was only born so that dad would love mom? Like, and mom didn't really want a child even. So many things wrong with this situation. Everything comes out wrong when you start the family wrong. Okay. What? You're shouting at me?
Shout out.
Hers was good. I don't know what you were doing. Alright guys, that's it. Think about the consequences. Ask that question. What could go wrong? Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for the wisdom we get to learn from Jacob's mistakes. We ask that you would help us to learn this wisdom now, that we would gain this wisdom and this knowledge, not by experience. So often, Lord, we wait till the experience occurs for us to learn, but Lord, we're asking right now you would just bless us. Help us to learn quicker than that. Help us to avoid those experiences altogether. Help us, Lord, to have right choices in our relationships, right choices in how we treat our family, right choices in all those many, many things that come up in life where we can say, yes, I'll do that, or no. Help us, Lord, to have wisdom and to think about the consequences before we make our decision. With our heads bowed, with our eyes closed, if there's anyone here this morning who has not said to Jesus, forgive me for the wrong decisions I've made. Forgive me for the things I've done I shouldn't have. And you want to do that right now? You can be forgiven. I want to warn you, forgiveness does not get rid of consequences, but there is one major consequence that it can get rid of. You see, Jesus says that he loves us all, but we're all headed towards hell because of our sins. But once he forgives you, that one consequence can be removed. Suddenly you can be sent towards heaven instead. So if you want to ask for that forgiveness right now and just say, Jesus, please come into my life. Save me from my own consequences. Save me from my sins. Make me part of your kingdom. If you want to do that right now, just raise up a hand. Everyone's eyes should be closed. If you want to do this, it's just between you and God. I need your hand because I can't see your heart. But God can see your heart. He knows what you're going through. He knows what you're feeling. If you want to pray that right now, I'll help you with the words. You can raise up your hand, and I'll just lead you through it. You can talk to God, though. You can ask him for that forgiveness. Anyone this morning? Lord, we love you. I ask that you would bless these middle schoolers as they go. Help them to be lights when they get back into their families, back into their schools, back into their communities. Help them to share your love and your truth with people. Help them to be the smart one in the situation who says, what could go wrong? Lord, we ask for all these things in your name. Amen. I love you guys. I got flyers in the kitchen. If you want to sign up for topic nights, just go to the website or get a
Daniel,
flyer.
look at my bone. It's sticking out of my knee.
Oh, is your femur sideways? Close state. Hunter, no thieving. You know the biblical punishment for thieving, right?
What is it?
You have to give back what you stole.
If you go to India, they'll make sure to cut off your hand.
Cut the hand off his shoulder.
That's not biblical.
No, punishment is death. Never touch the
You suck.
That's the highest degree.
Give me my jacket back.
I literally hit it.
Give it my jacket. Give me my jacket.
It's like 3 copies on the floor.
Give it.
Hey, no thieving.
I don't have my jacket.
Then Lulu no thieving.
She took my jacket. I'm not thieving.
Alright, I'm going. Maybe we'll get in and out.
Bring me if you go to get in and out. Bring me if you go to in and out.
You talked her into coming up? So were you downstairs in Kidsman before?
She stayed the night at our house and we took her here.
Oh, fun. Very fun. Right on. Hey, Phil. You got a haircut. Very nice. Aw.
It just looks curly and I don't like it.
Daniel, remember this.
Oh, wow, that's been a long time. Crazy. Was that back there? Yeah. That's funny. Was it in the drum?
No, it was right there.
Oh, weird. I thought maybe it was stuffing the kick drum. I had a quick question.
That is a good idea.
Can you hit the lights, Weston, up on the stage? Thanks. What's your question, Phil?
Do you know what the tailor place is going to get measurements?
You gotta start with the white.
For a suit? You just like a good set of measurements for yourself.
Okay, ready?